So Emily, hi Emily, and we clarified before the show. So your last name is Jiang, and so this is with perfect Chinese pronunciation, right? Is it perfect?
Perfect, 100%.
You should say,
you
at least 99%, but 100%. I know it's not true. Are you still involved with MicroProfile?
Yeah. It's every day actually I work on MicroProfile, so it's my passion. MicroProfile actually is my passion. So I'm really passionate about the future on the MicroProfile. Tried really hard to make sure like a MicroProfile is very, very easy to use. There's share you a kind of interesting story. Like someone came to me saying, "Oh, I need you to sit down with me to learn this MicroProfile open API." I said, "You don't need me to sit down with you, and here's the link. You should read and have a look at the kind of starter guide, and half an hour you should be able to know, what MicroProfile open API is about." Yeah, and then she didn't come back. Like a few weeks later, I said, "How is it going?" He said, "Yeah, I got it."
Okay.
It's very, very easy. Very easy.
Yeah.
So it's, yeah.
So what I already saw, you are hyperactive. So you are contributing to all, I found you're over the place, all GitHub issues and, GitHub. So you are really hyperactive. What interests me, why are you so passionate about MicroProfile? Why?
So I think it's a standard. Also, MicroProfile is not like a Jakarta EE standard. This is, I call it de facto standard. Because this is the thing is that this kind of de facto standard is really good for Java developers, because I know you said many times, learn once, like use it everywhere, right? You just need to learn like a MicroProfile, and then you can feel free to try so many runtime. Like I counted, it's about a dozen of runtime you can choose from. Like one day you say, okay, today I fancy OpenLiberty, and then on Wednesday maybe you can try like a Halidon, and then on Thursday maybe you try Quarkus, and then Payara.
Yeah,
so it's really, really cool.
Yeah, you are right, but still, you are a smart girl, so you could hack whatever you like. So I think still you are very passionate about that. So is it passion like motivated by? We are different, right? You are implementing, you are from IBM, so you are working for a company and you are moving forward MicroProfile, and I have to use your stuff. So I'm really interested in standards because I don't have to relearn, every vendor twice. So I just learn once and I'm good. But for you, it doesn't matter. You could just implement OpenLiberty, and forget MicroProfile at all. So why are you fascinated personally about MicroProfile? It's like, I don't know, you like it just, or what's the whole story?
Yeah, the whole story I think is open source, because it's really, really fun. Like to work with people from all kinds of different background, and I really like to interact with the kind of MicroProfile community. Everybody is so kind of quite nice and honest. So basically, just it's great team to do the problem solving.
Yeah, you're right.
So it's
and
so it's really nice.
Yeah. So this is what I can also say. So recently I found, in a README, there was like in the health check there was instead there was status, and you had to use state or something like this. So I opened an issue because I thought it's an error, and I got to know, I think 2 hours back, a nice answer. It is not an error. It was, it is supposed to be like this. So, but the community is very open and very, very, I would say, like a hacky project, right? You can achieve a lot in a shortest amount of time. This is what I like about MicroProfile, actually.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I feel like since the work on MicroProfile, I feel like my vacation is not like I can switch off for other things. But sometimes there's a new issue on MicroProfile. Now I need to help out. This is the kind of thing. I think it's the same thing happened to so many other people. I know they are on vacation. However, they just still join the course and join the Hangout. Basically from there. I think is personally kind of they are passionate about MicroProfile specifications.
So it means if you don't like vacations, join MicroProfile team, right?
I know some people say, "Oh, I'm on PTO," and say, "Why you are still here?"
Yeah, but you said it is a standard, but not as Jakarta EE. For me, it is a standard MicroProfile. It has like umbrella spec. It comprises all the specs, and whether it is really like a JCP or something, I personally don't care. For me, what is really important is there has to be something like a document or at least HTML file, whatever, where I can rely on, and is implemented by several vendors. Then I'm happy. Whether it is formal IEEE standard or not, I don't care at all. And with I would say for me, MicroProfile is very similar. So there are what I usually do. I go to the MicroProfile IO, then to the release page. I see the new MicroProfile release, and it's linked to all the individual spec. So it's for me similar to Jakarta EE or Java EE, right?
Yeah, the standard is similar. Like the technical or the kind of quality standard is the kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really, really, really good. The only difference I see is kind of MicroProfile allows backward incompatible changes. So that's why it's kind of I'm trying to campaign make sure we clearly document this kind of backward incompatible changes in the release note. We just we allow spec to introduce this. However, we shouldn't abuse this is backward incompatible. We should clearly document what kind of incompatible changes you have introduced in this release. So it's a kind of heads up. So it's people don't feel get a lot of surprises when they kind of come to use a new version of the specifications. The other thing, what I like MicroProfile because it's kind of all the TCKs exercised by so many vendors. It's really interesting to see different runtime they have a different expectation and etc. It's really, really, really good.
Yeah.
So I think it's because they all come together to collaborate, and you feel like this TCK exercise over and over again. So this is kind of bulletproof in technology.
The TCK is like you have one TCK, and this TCK can be run against multiple implementers, right?
Yeah.
And all the specs you can just clone the specs, and you have the TCKs. So there's part of the whole thing. So it's very easy to access.
Yeah, very easy to exercise. Yeah, exactly. At the moment, Jakarta TCK is all in one project. So, but there's a plan they want to split up.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. And cool. Are you also involved with Jakarta EE or just MicroProfile?
I also involved in Jakarta EE. I think it's more about all the planning and etc. and trying to help along all the process and etc.
Okay.
But I involved in MicroProfile more, my hands-on etc. I did more in MicroProfile. Jakarta EE is more to share some experiences and etc. on the mailing list.
What is lacking in MicroProfile is a trivial spec actually, and it is all done because everyone supports it already. What you need? We need in CORS, a simple. Not CQRS, just CORS. This cross-origin resource sharing.
Cross-origin, yeah.
Yeah, that we can tell. Now we can just emit CORS headers because all vendors are doing this. You can set it on in Quarkus. You say CORS true, and it is true. And I built my own stupid servlet filter. It does it as well. It would be nice to have, this is MicroProfile configuration CORS equals true, and it will emit CORS headers because this is what I appreciate in Quarkus, for instance. I can just turn it on, but there is no formal spec that it is required to have CORS, but everyone has CORS support. Otherwise, it would be impossible to access, from a JavaScript client and backend. We should submit that, I think. This was a spontaneous idea.
This is a great idea. Do you think it's kind of fitting well in the existing specs?
Only REST,
so
right?
Do you think
JAX-RS could be ones, probably.
JAX-RS?
Yeah.
Or that would be in the JAX-RS.
Because
I know CORS is widely used.
Yeah, CORS. Without CORS, you cannot access, the backend from different machine. And this is if you have a JavaScript frontend, you need that. And I thought as individual spec, but actually we could have an annotation CORS and put it on JAX-RS application, for instance, right? And then everything has to be CORS enabled, and because everyone does it anyway. So Helidon, I think they have also support, but Quarkus for sure. I do use it all the time, and Whitefly as well. And I built my own servlet filter to do this, or JAX-RS container request filter. But, this is a minor thing and could simplify a lot. We have to keep it in mind.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Yes. I also I will have a chat with, the JAX-RS people in Open Liberty to see whether it's, maybe we kind of do the course support there, or,
Just was just spontaneous idea. It was not intended to disturb our conversation. It just got you. It was like a flash right now. I have to tell you about that. We had a conversation. I know a long time, MicroProfile or not, and I used. I'm still happy with Jakarta EE, and now I see more and more added value of MicroProfile with the new specs, of course, right? So this. Open API and all the stuff is just there. There's a huge added value, so I don't have to use the Swagger dependencies anymore. Everything is lighter, and what I appreciate a lot is that the MicroProfile is supported by all runtimes. So I don't care; it is just there. So it's for me another thing to use it. One thing which is right now interesting, but not part of the platform, is the reactive messaging and GraphQL and stuff like this. Will it become part of the umbrella spec, or what's when such a spec will become an official part of MicroProfile? You know that?
Yeah, this is a great question. Actually, recently I opened up, reactivate the email conversation about when and should we put the GraphQL context propagation and reactive messaging and etc. in the umbrella spec. So basically, at the moment, we are trying to work out, trying to settle the working group in MicroProfile. Once that's settled, and then we need to kind of revisit this growing pains. Basically, is the MicroProfile too big? Is okay to put a reactive messaging, GraphQL, context propagation, and later on long-running actions together in a single basket, or maybe we chop it up and to have a different basket, like a two basket. One is core, the other one is all. It's almost like a web profile and full profile in Jakarta.
So the GraphQL, it is a little bit more problematic, I think, because it could change at any time, right? It's not as, backed in stone. The reactive is more stable, I would say. There's already spec there. I won't expect too many changes, from my point of view. Or we can control the changes better than GraphQL. If they change the API, we'll have to react, because GraphQL is driven by the web community, I would say. So, but from the convenience perspective, I would appreciate just one thing, one monolithic API, because I have the runtime and here it is, and runtimes like, for instance, Helidon or Quarkus, they have their own extensions, so I have to gather the extensions anyway. But if I'm working with Whitefly or Open Liberty, I would like to have the MicroProfile feature on or off. I'm not interested, in switching these features back and forth, even if I would pay price for, having the API activated for reactive messaging. Also, in some applications, I'm not using the reactive messaging. For me, easier than thinking about the different profiles. So I told you probably several times, I never used web profile in Jakarta EE. I always used the full thing. And I never downloaded anything with web profile. And I don't think I missed a lot. I'm not like I spent, endless hours waiting until the server boots or or there was some problems with RAM. It's just, for me, it is, Of course, if you get a lot of specs, we have hundreds of them, then we have to do something about that. And GraphQL, I'll be more cautious because I don't know how stable this is. This can change at any time. This is my what I see. But reactive specification, a pretty old one. So the question is how much will change there?
Yeah. So actually, it's okay, right. So when we first introduced this kind of standalone spec, because we want to get some experience before we put in the umbrella spec. And but context propagation and reactive messaging has been released for nearly a year. I think it's great feedback. I haven't got any negative feedback so far. It's a kind of the GraphQL is different because it's only released recently. So I think we do need to wait for some time, for it to be in the umbrella release. I think is basically we need to work out the kind of criteria when and we should accept the standalone stacks back to the umbrella releases. Yeah, I agree. I think it's from an user point of view, you just need to add one POM dependency, like I say, MicroProfile, and you got all the APIs. Again, like for server, the smart server, and be able to work out. Actually, you got all the APIs. Actually, your code you only used like a config or fault tolerance. Maybe you can further shrink the runtime. But Liberty can do that. But a lot of app servers, I think they have choice. Whether to do it or not. Yeah,
exactly. And the implementers you will see the differentiations. If OpenLiberty is smaller than the others, then developers will probably choose or not Liberty or not. If we just choose the larger one, then it should matter, right? So I mean.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you don't need to add at first you say, okay, I need to config. And then you add a config APIs, and later on you find out, I need to add fault tolerance, and you keep on adding.
Yeah, this is my Quarkus experience every time, So I open the Visual Studio Code and it say, okay, what do I need is health, then matrix, and of course Jakarta SSE they are already existing, so this is great. But then it's okay. Then I need probably something else. So I'm adding always the same 5 to 6 extensions. The first thing I did, I created a archetype which creates all the extensions at once because I was too lazy adding them over and over again. And from my perspective, it is better to add everything at the beginning and don't think about that. And then you can optimize, test it, and you see, this is too big, then remove it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because otherwise you spend I already see developers working workarounds, I don't need MicroProfile Metrics, I will code my own metrics, it's a little bit smaller. This is, this is stupid. Oh, regarding metrics, MicroProfile Metrics, before I file an issue or idea, I wanted to ask you, so we have in the MicroProfile Metrics 3 scopes, like vendor, application, and what is the third?
Base.
Base, exactly. I thought about this to have multiple such. So it should be possible to create your own space. And why? Because what I already had in projects, we had so many metrics, and it would be nicer to group the metrics according to domain, I have, for instance, messaging metrics my own, or I have metrics regarding whatever. So just adding, subspaces or additional spaces would be nice. Right now it is a enum, so you cannot extend that because base, vendor, and application this is an enum, and it would be nice to have it extendable. So I could file the issue. I thought about that.
Yeah, you can file an issue. Yeah, exactly. That's a great idea. File issue to see whether maybe they can get a custom scope.
Custom scopes. This is what I think it would be really useful because I have too many business metrics in my application, and this is just too much. And probably my microservice has different, let's say, different components, and I like to group them according to components, right? Like messaging or input message, output message, whatever. I have lots of application metrics, and Okay. So then I would try to find the issue. Let's see what happens. It will be my first, contribution.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, actually, it's I think this is a great way, for end users like you, use the specifications. In many scenarios, I think your experience valued a lot. So will push the MicroProfile specification forward because you directed this from your business need and etc. We really want to be user focused. One day I think, this could be a good idea, but good idea is not a good idea if nobody uses it.
No, so far it's really pragmatic. So I did a lot of MicroProfile work recently, the last year, I would say, or 2 years. So I became active if the matrix and everything else came in, and for me it was obvious as added value. So I was really active. Before that, I didn't like MicroProfile. I couldn't understand what is for. But now it's absolutely nice. What I also like, the, how to call it, synergy between the APIs. So, that the fault tolerance, you see the matrix from fault tolerance, yes, in matrix. You can configure the MicroProfile REST client with MicroProfile config, So this is so everything plays together, which is already amazing for an open source project. And I would argue it is at least as good as Java EE was. So in the synergy between the APIs is a lot better than one might think. For instance, even the JSON Web Token propagation works with MicroProfile REST client, right? So you can have one microservice, and this just works. There is one setting, and it works. And in one runtime, it didn't work, and I implemented the factory, which was trivial, and it worked again. So it was it is how it's called, the factory, where you can propagate the header. So you have the header MicroProfile REST.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. This was like one liner, and it worked again. Yeah.
Yeah, so this I think is from this sense, the MicroProfile community is closer. I will say it's kind of interact closer, much closer than Java EE. It's because we work in the same community, and we don't work standalone in the spec. Actually, the other thing is many specs are trying to use the MicroProfile config. So basically, and also we need to make sure we use the config in a similar way as well, so that end user in MicroProfile, no matter what kind of spec they use, if they use fault tolerance and later on they switch to REST client, and then they can see, okay, you can use a similar configuration to config your application and etc. The other thing is recently I'm working on the MicroProfile Fault Tolerance integrate with context propagation. We try to utilize some other spec, like fault tolerance. You can annotate with asynchronous. So which means that method will be in a separate thread. And then at the beginning, and then I said, okay, that thread is a brand new thread. It lost all the context. How can I restore the context from the parent? So, which is why this is a prompt for a new spec is called context propagation. Just come up with a way how to propagate the context. Now it's different spec and trying to integrate with context propagation. In fault tolerance, we say, okay, you can get your application context and transaction or security context or the CDI context propagated. Because this context propagation is able to propagate request scoped, session scoped, and conversation scoped, all these things. So this is a great for end user. So yeah, so the integration among the specs are really really good.
Yeah,
and also we're trying to make sure it's a kind of seamless integration as well. It's similar. We work on the similar pattern.
Yeah. So you only can see this if you use all these specs together. So if you see one spec in isolation, this is harder to integrate. So what's exciting on the horizon? We don't know about it. So you are probably already in your head is already MicroProfile 6.0, I guess, right?
Actually, I'm quite excited for the MicroProfile 4.0. So, and MicroProfile 4.0, the first thing is kind of rebase the Jakarta EE 8. Mm-hmm. This is one thing. The other thing is because it's kind of a bigger change, is a bigger release, is backward incompatible release. So a lot of specs kind of in the past hold off their backward incompatible changes. And then in this release, they kind of open the gate and to flash out some important issues which involved some backward incompatible changes. So at the moment, I'm working on a lot of features on the config. Like a config, we introduced some profiles, like a different stage. You can have like a testing stage, product stage, or the development stage. So you can specify different configurations. And then you say, okay, which profile is active? If it's like a dev, and then the configure property associated with dev will be activity. And in the different stage, and you just flip one config, and you get a group of properties related to that profile will be activity. So this is one thing. The other thing is also, if you know delta spike and etc., the delta spike config. So we also introduced currently trying to introduce a configure property. You just need to define one bin, and then all the field will automatically be injected. So it's kind of, and then
this is what Quarkus does.
You have all your
So this is what Quarkus does, right? So the Quarkus.
Yeah. This is kind of similar to Quarkus. Yeah. And also is trying to work on the variable replacement. So it's that one is we see.
What I get questions, not a lot, but at least 3 times from different projects is dependency injection support in config sources. So it happened to me, that what people expect that the dependency injection works inside the config sources of MicroProfile config, and I understand why not, because it is before everything boots, right? But this is people say, okay, why it doesn't work? It's because if you think about this, it is before everything is available. But this is I don't know. So the people are expecting that at least some dependency injection is working there, and but I think we can do nothing about that. But just feedback to you that many people are writing config sources. And why? Because they have proprietary already existing frameworks with all the data there, and they would like to pull the data from XML or whatever. So this is the reason.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned this. Actually, it's somebody raised the issue in the MicroProfile config. It's this same issue. Actually, Smallray did the prototype. I think he's trying to see maybe is kind of some config properties can be grouped up, populated maybe it's for the kind of higher level the config sources is available to this very config source can be looked up and etc. But we don't know how well it is. We will have to do some experiment to see whether it's feasible or not.
Okay.
So you are exactly right, because it's the kind of config source that grouped up before the application has started. So CDI not fully up.
So, sorry, I interrupted you with this feedback regarding config sources. So you were revealing the secret plans about feature MicroProfile 4.0 release, and we stopped with the bean. You said what you would like to have is something like delta spike. So there is a bean, and the bean is going to be automatically populated with configuration, right?
Yeah. is you can specify like a prefix, and then it's kind of all the configure properties with the same prefix to populate in the bin, and then you can inject the bin into your other class, the CDI classes, and etc. So in this way, actually, you don't need to scatter around all the configure properties in this class, in that class, just group them together into one. And then you can just inject this one. Yeah. And then you can do the lookup.
Okay.
The method.
So, okay. Then I got you. This go even farther. It's not like only the bean is going to be populated with the configuration. Then, of course, it's injectable. So you can have, the public attributes. So I can just inject the bean and then just access via the public attributes very conveniently the configuration. Okay, this is useful. Yeah. Because I always have to think about the properties. I inject them on different places sometimes. And if the name changes or whatever, I have to think about this.
In this way, it's just one place. You know which property you used, right? So that's quite nice. And then you can do a public. So the field can be public or private. Obviously, if it's private, you need to get a getter to access it.
Oh, what I did once with my own injection framework in Java EE before MicroProfile, because you have the config sources, right? So you have the properties.
Yeah.
And you injecting everything, right? So the application boots. So everything is injected. So if the application is started, what we have actually, we have a list of all available properties and injected properties. And what I did, a small report, which properties were not used, forgotten, for instance. Because it's often your mistake. If you have a configuration and not everything is used, it means you probably forgot or misspelled a property and then default kicks in. So I print out a report, and this was very easy to implement, actually.
So so you are saying is actually you look up some property, but no, this property is not used anywhere.
The other way around. So some properties were left over. So I defined, let's say, my MicroProfile properties, 5 properties. And from the 5, 3 were injected.
Oh,
so it means I forgot something. Why something like this shouldn't happen, because all properties have to be used. And at the end, so I printed, for me, it's just, look, this is forgotten properties or unused properties. And this was useful for me because usually it meant I forgot something or injected a wrong property, copy and paste error or something.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So sanity check. Make sure,
absolutely, sanity check. Okay. Was just...
Yeah.
Before then, I wrote like small configuration with add producers and injection points, so you could inject everything. And I loaded everything into a hash map. Then I knew at the end what is in the hash map and what I injected. So with the diff, I knew exactly what happened, right?
Oh, so that's a good idea.
Yeah, a simple idea. Okay. So very basic, but it worked well. Saved me some hours of work and searches. And also a report would be nice, Give me all used properties. We could make it MicroProfile Metrics, probably not, because
get all the
from a REST endpoint or matrix or whatever. Just think about which properties are in use. Give me all catalog of your properties, print it out or whatever. Would be also useful.
Yeah, I think it's in Delta Spike. There's a kind of they can list all the properties defined as well. Yeah.
Too many ideas and too few contributors, right? So that's
yeah, exactly. I feel like a config is really important, and always like a Jakarta wants to like MicroProfile config as well. Yeah.
So this was the config. So any else exciting in the config 4.0?
In the MicroProfile 4. Yeah, it's the other things in the. As I mentioned, in fault tolerance, we would like to integrate with context propagation. So in the asynchronous, like a method, and then you can get your like CDI context and all the kind of application context, security context.
The span ID from OpenTracing
is a idea from the OpenTracing. Yeah, I would say probably this idea more from Java EE. In Java EE, like you say, okay, if you are in the Java EE setting, you need to make sure your security context and application context propagated. So I think that's however, it's kind of influenced by OpenTracing. I think the one thing is with OpenTracing, the other influence also the like JWT this GWT kind of token can be automatically propagated.
Yeah,
so it's
JSON
like
token, but open tracing you also plan to propagate, right? Open tracing ID.
Yes. Yeah.
Because
yeah.
then if the asynchronous code will communicate, to other microservices, you will see everything nicely in a central place. This would be important.
Yeah, exactly. So I think the other thing is like a REST client. So it's now in the next release you can support the server send event. There's some integration with the reactive streams. So you can return the publish and etc. The other
you said MicroProfile REST client, like REST client, because in Jakarta REST we can do it right now, and with MicroProfile REST client it comes with additional support.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like just as REST client, you can do it today, but MicroProfile REST client, can't deal with it.
So fault tolerance feature was the context propagation, asynchronous calls, so JSON Web Token and the span, so the open tracing ID is going to be propagated. So this was the major feature of fault tolerance. MicroProfile config, yeah.
So the major feature of the fault tolerance is kind of integrate with the new MicroProfile metrics. So use the metrics tag for the fault tolerance kind of the context propagation. We only focus on the application context and CDI context and security context. For the open tracing aspect, it's kind of we didn't do any integration. However, if you enable open tracing, and if you are Jakarta kind of application, the header automatically propagated anyway. Yeah. So for the other things, kind of the other exciting thing I think is for the GWT. MicroProfile GWT has put in a lot of work in the next release. Like you can do the encrypted kind of GWT.
Okay.
And also you can at the moment you can only do like GWT header with authorization. Mm-hmm. Now you can specify actually in a cookie as well.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of nice stuff going on. What else? So for open tracing is kind of aligned with open tracing 0.3.3. So it's kind of not a big change there. For Open API,
for open tracing, I got some requests and also thought about that. It would be nice if we could add custom data to the span. Right now, it is no obvious way to do it, right? So if you could just inject some additional data to the span, so that is visible back on the Jaeger tracing.
Oh.
And right now, it is not that easy to access the span to enhance the
span. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. Again, fire an issue.
Yeah, I would to re-listen the podcast because all the ideas will bubble up. I just gather them and no idea to write them down. If I talk with you, it's a perfect case. So after then you get 20 issues.
Yeah, great. So that's why I like to
talk to you. Then still next thing is in Open API. You can have I forgot actually the name. You can have something like a metadata processor, which is called OA something, which is called, and you can enrich the metadata, right? So it will pass to the schema, and you can enrich the schema, for instance, right?
Yeah.
So now I couldn't find a way to access through the metadata the actual POJO, which was connected with the data. You can only access the metadata, not the POJO. Why I'm asking? Because what I wanted to do is, if I know the POJO is an entity and it comes with bin validation, for instance, annotations, I can read the bin validations and convert them to Open API schema annotations. It would be a nice match,
This is another idea. So I have not, I don't have a great deal experience on this schema in the Open API. It's a interesting experiment. It's out, and then
I was so proud. So the first time I will contribute something because I was done. I needed for a project. I read the POJO and I had my the bin validation annotations, and I say I only have to convert the Open API. They are almost identical, but I couldn't get the reference to the POJO except really ugly hacks. Like no, I don't do this. But it was what's lacking is the ability to have something like get target where I got the object or get source where I get where I get the reference to the actual class which is going to be processed, and then I can pick my own annotations, read them, and convert them to Open API annotations. This would be enough.
Wow, that sounds great. Yeah.
You know what I mean, right? Because right now I get all your metadata, but never where the metadata came from. And you are only understanding, the Open API annotations, not my annotations. So it would be great if I could get handle to the actual class we generated or method, the annotations. And if there are my own annotations, I can read them and provide you and convert them the Open API annotations or metadata, and then we have a nice converter. It's a minor thing.
Yeah, it's a really nice extension. Yes.
So sorry, I interrupted you again. So I actually wanted to cover all the features, but I'm actually the problem here. So let's. So we had the MicroProfile config, then we had the fault tolerance, which JWT and open tracing propagation, and metrics integration, right?
Yeah.
With tags, you said.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, with that, and then I briefly mentioned JWT has a lot of features, new features like supporting encrypted JWT
and cookies for the Europeans. We love cookies because if we have a cookie on our side,
very exciting.
Yeah,
yes,
very exciting.
exactly.
And
also is introduce a few more configurations, like how can you, where is your private key to decrypt your the encrypted JWT token, etc. So this is the JWT. So
with JWT, I have some trouble in some projects because some of my clients are using single sign-on solutions, and these single sign-on solutions are providing, let's say, half valid JWT token, which is some claims are lacking. And the problem is if a mandatory claim is lacking in MicroProfile, it is going to be rejected. So you cannot do nothing about that. So, and I think we should make it configurable, because if a client, cannot provide us a complete JSON web token, should still work. Now it is perfect, but in real world, what we have to do in one project, we have, decrypt the token and add just null claims so that are consumed by Payara, for instance.
Yes, I think there's one issue directly talk about that, and how to make I think one claim is, I think if I remember correctly, is groups, and make that kind of optional.
There are, I think, that from my perspective, we could make, as many as possible claims optional, because if someone cannot provide the claims, who cares, right? Then we have no groups. I mean, and then we don't have to, and if we inject the claim, then it will be going to be null. So it is not like, of course, UPN, the principle has to be there, but anything else which is half optional, I will make optional. This would be my suggestion.
Yeah, exactly. OPN is mandatory because MicroProfile introduced two claims. One is the UPN, the other one is the groups. And then in the next release, the group is going to be optional.
Yeah, cool. What I already see, you have multiple terabytes of data in your head, about MicroProfile. You know everything.
So, because I'm trying to make sure keep an eye on all the MicroProfile specs and make sure because I'm passionate about this and want to give a user a seamless feel. If you jump from one spec to the other, and then they should belong to the same family, not
what we need to know distinct MicroProfile style. So everything has to be MicroProfile-ish, let's say. So
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, you're right.
You need to wear that T-shirt, and then once you wear that T-shirt, everything should be from the same root. Yeah,
Yes.
And then also the other thing is kind of I introduced in MicroProfile, which is the semantic versioning, because we need to make sure serious about these backward incompatible changes.
Yep.
We use BNG semantic versioning plugin, make sure properly version the packages. So if we spot any backward incompatible changes, we need to make sure we communicate clearly to the public.
Mm-hmm. So my only major criticism to MicroProfile is now it's no more true because I learned how to search. But if you search for something, you usually will find the GitHub page first. At the GitHub repositories, they don't look very nice. They just like my GitHub repository, is like mess, and there is not always reference to the nicer looking page. And then you find probably the Eclipse page, but this is even harder to find something.
Oh, yeah.
So what I always do, I search first for MicroProfile IO, and from this MicroProfile IO page, I navigate through release page and I find the other specs, and then I find the spec. If you just search, in the internet for I don't know, MicroProfile config, the chances are high you will end up on the GitHub page, and then it's really hard to find the spec. You will only find the code and one pager with README, and it looks like a student project. So what I would do is, in future, I would actually force all the GitHub repositories to have at least a standard template GitHub page.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah, because it looks nicer and it looks more professional. And then I will force them to link to the spec document. It has to be visible from the first line. Then, because right now, at the beginning of my MicroProfile projects, it drove me crazy, because in Java EE, it was a lot better somehow, because, there was one page and you found the Oracle tutorial and there was JCP, nothing else. And now you find the bottom work, the source code, and then it's really hard to move up. And if you work with the project, you're only interested in the specs usually and not the code, I will force all the contributors, they will hate me for that probably, to provide a default GitHub page. I did it for some of my repositories. There's not a lot to do. You just need a MicroProfile template with some logo, and it will already look nice.
Oh, that's a great idea. It's so funny you mentioned this. This is a kind of on my to-do, how to make sure, actually is how to make sure there's one single entry point you can see all the releases for the MicroProfile specs. And then I raised the issue on the MicroProfile site actually, and to create a single page basically is the developer focused, and then it's we want to even build a tower for the list all the specs, and it's also clickable, and then automatically navigate to the spec page, etc. So I actually discussed this last week and on the Hangout. Mm-hmm. And actually, it's this week I'm going to start a new group. I have 3 people initially to start to work on this new idea, how to make sure, how to improve the searchable how can we be developer focused in MicroProfile.io. So what you suggest is give me another idea. Once we properly redesign this is MicroProfile.io, have everything is in one single page, and then in each individual MicroProfile specs, we can add a link to this single page. Basically, point. If you do a search, you land up in the GitHub repo.
Yeah, and then because the more domains we have, the more visible we are on the internet, right? And if you have already, you have your nice readmes. All the APIs, there's a readme, 1-pager, 2-pager, so it's perfect. And you can convert it very, very easily. It's called GitHub Pages with a nice page. There's a ready-to-use template with Jekyll, it costs probably 15 minutes and you have it. So I did it for my page.
Oh, okay.
If you go to what.sh, this is the small tool I wrote. I started with the repository. What.sh, yes. And the what.sh is such a page. It is generated with my template from the GitHub repository. So everything on the page is actually from GitHub. It happens automatically.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm looking at it.
Yeah, this was my template. That's so cool. Yeah, and this is everything is checked in. So if you just, put some MicroProfile logos, it will look like MicroProfile. And the cool story is all the repositories will look like MicroProfile. So then we have, already nice pages for each individual spec. And then I will force them to have a common header. And I say, you look in the header, you have to point back to MicroProfile IO. And you also have to immediately point back to the spec. Done. These two buttons are mandatory.
Oh, that's a great idea. I think you are quite right, because README on the GitHub is not. Most
it looks
of the time
not nice.
Not
that's the problem. That's the problem.
Not up to date either. So
and this is what the Jakarta people are doing. JSON-B spec and the JSON-B page is generated from GitHub. So this is what the others are also doing as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Cool.
This is good.
So I was somehow useful. The first time I was useful for MicroProfile.
You are very useful. You get great feedback, because you are not the first one to tell me. The kind of the page and the MicroProfile information.
Yeah, search for GitHub pages, and this was very, very easy.
Yeah. This is a great idea. Thank you. Because I think now is we need to do this urgently, and need to make sure it's kind of really searchable, and then people can find the right information straight away.
And it really has to look nice. This is somehow, I know we are developers, you don't care about look and feel, but if it looks nice, it's more accepted. This is proven.
Yeah, exactly. If you look at it, that's auto date, and then put people off. Yeah.
Cool.
Exactly.
So so what else? So what else we get with 4.0? Some killer features?
In the reactive messaging, so it's currently there's at incoming, at outgoing annotation, however, it cannot be easily used on the JAX-RS endpoint, because once your application starts, your message keep on flowing. And there's no bridge from imperative to reactive, this kind of route, like a programming pattern. And in the next release, we kind of introduced the at emitter. So directly it was kind of experimented in the small array reactive messaging. So it's kind of, you can use the at emitter on your JAX-RS resources. And then you can emit the messages and etc. to plug in the stream in your JAX-RS resources. So this is quite nice. So it's not part of MicroProfile 4.0, but we want to do another release on the reactive messaging. But at the moment, I'm trying to clean up the MicroProfile reactive streams operators, which is a dependency for the reactive messaging, and then can do a release on the both reactive streams operators and also reactive messaging.
Okay, so what you're saying, so what we get is like integration between imperative and reactive programming models, and like for instance the emitter, right? So you said we get emitter.
Yeah.
Emitter.
We'll get emitter. Yes.
And which where you can send something in, and it will get to be transformed into stream, right?
Yes. And then you can also plug in some back pressure policies as well, overflow. And then it's kind of, you can say, okay, I want a job message, or you have buffer overflow buffer.
Yeah. And what would be also nice to have some possibility to deal with polling, because usually you have to poll something, like, polling for messages, low-level Kafka API. We have to poll whether the message arrived or not. JMS the same. Receive body, receive body, receive body. So integration with that. So Mutiny has that in Quarkus. So they have like pooling source.
Right.
And yeah.
Yeah, that's a great. It's interesting you mentioned Mutiny. So this is a kind of also Mutiny implemented MicroProfile reactive streams operators. So I think it's we discussed whether to adopt Mutiny in MicroProfile or not. So we need to again have some more feedback and user feedback from the community, and then if it's good and etc., and then maybe Mutiny can be adopted by MicroProfile.
Okay.
Yeah, so that would be kind of better integration with MicroProfile messaging as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Perfect. So any else you would like to add, except, everyone should be really excited about MicroProfile 4.0 right now, 4.0.
Yeah. So it's, again, it's probably not part of MicroProfile 4.0. The new spec, which is called MicroProfile long-running actions, which is to do transaction for microservices. So this is a kind of spec. Is to be released hopefully this year as well.
Very good. But this is not that new, right? I think the work is going on for half a year or more.
Yeah, you are right. It's I think more than 1 year now.
Yeah.
They have trying to deal with so many difficult issues and etc. I think now it's kind of nearly ready.
Cool.
It's looking forward to see it.
So
I
think we're done, right?
Yeah, we are good. However, I want to ask you a quick question.
Sure.
Is there any killer features you think MicroProfile should focus on, and etc.? Do you have any some feedback and etc. from your client, from your own, and etc.?
Yeah. So none of my projects are pure MicroProfile projects, because usually we have Payara, Whitefly, or the newer projects. Some are already using Quarkus, and then we use whole MicroProfile, and then we take something else, right? So what I thought recently is, for instance, something like just JMS 2.0, just the JMS 2.0 part, just to be able to send and receive messages, because runtimes like Quarkus already do this, and OpenLiberty as well, and
right.
Why not? Just because ActiveMQ or HiveMQ and all the others, they are heavily used products. It's not like they're abandoned. I mean, they're used in MQTT and all the stuff is already there. So having and JMS 2.0 would be enough. You don't have, to have the old sessions. Just a view interfaces from JMS 2.0, like the JMS context and could be interesting, right? Something like this. It's not killer. It's more like some of the applications would like to have that. If you don't have it, not a problem. Yeah. You can still, add the JMS API from Jakarta EE and you are good. So it's not a huge problem. But I noticed that some projects have still JMS or ActiveMQ, and quite a few actually. ActiveMQ, HiveMQ, and several MQ series, of course. There are lots of clients, but even the newer project use a kind of messaging which is not Kafka.
Yeah, so this is a great fit with a MicroProfile reactive messaging. So the reason we in the MicroProfile reactive messaging is an abstract layer. So we didn't limit what kind of messaging broker you have to use. Is in Quarkus, there's quite a lot connectors. So there's many connectors. One of them is JMS, so you can plug in ActiveMQ there as well. So I think is the other. You mentioned Jakarta JMS. I think is that's a great spec. I think it's kind of this year at DevNexus, I had a chat with David Blemon.
Yeah, of course. He's the GMS guy, right?
Yes, and he said a lot of like new features will come out once the Jakarta EE9 is the auto door.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, again, I think that's great expanding area.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And small things I already said, cores, for instance, the open API, small things, but killer features. Of course, we don't have persistence. The question now, what happens here? But it's just too early because we have panache. Something can happen with panache. We have JPA. It's hard to tell, right?
Yeah. So for this kind of database, I know this is a kind of a gap in MicroProfile. We discussed like a database kind of like a MicroProfile data access idea like last year in great detail and etc. Yeah, so the overall feedback I think is couldn't reach agreement whether like it's a good thing to do in MicroProfile or just rely on JPA and etc.
Yeah, exactly.
I know panache is kind of in Quarkus, however, is not part of JPA. I think I would like to see a panache is part of the JPA.
And panache is more like it inherits from JPA. So it is like JPA with data access object and repository pattern embedded. So this is more than JPA. But let's see how it's adopted, right? So you're right. So
yeah.
I would also wait.
It's in Hibernate, but not in Eclipse Link and etc. Yeah. Yes.
So otherwise, I'm really happy. So and not only I'm happy. Actually, my project are also happy. And the last question is probably, should MicroProfile and Jakarta EE be merged or not?
Yeah, that's a very popular question.
Yeah, very good. This is a perfect question. If I ask someone from a spec company, no one dares to answer because very political question, right?
Yeah. I can only give you my personal view. I think better stay separate.
Yeah.
One thing is I think is because MicroProfile, as you also mentioned, is kind of we feel like all the specs is work on the same kind of team, almost like people float around, and even for the committers, I'm the committer, I can commit any other specs. In Jakarta is kind of also there's kind of overall a platform. Forever each spec is the almost like they work on their own like a room and etc. There's and also different releases and different procedures and etc. I think is MicroProfile moves a lot faster than Jakarta.
Has to.
Yeah. So I think they can work together really beautifully and it's really nice.
This is what I do. I have to tell you, in my projects, no one knows whether we are using Jakarta EE or MicroProfile. We use whatever is there. It is not part of the vendor. So for me, it's really important. It is MicroProfile or Jakarta EE, but not Payara or Whitefly, because if you rely on the server internals, you are in trouble. Migration and relearning and whatever. But if you use the MicroProfile or Jakarta EE, then you can, learn once the thing and then you can do whatever you like. So this is what I really like.
Yeah, exactly. The other thing that both of them have a really good brand as well. Yeah.
Cool. So where people can find you in the internet? So some pointers.
Yeah, so I'm quite active on Twitter. So my Twitter handle Emily FH Jiang.
Mm-hmm.
So it's and also I think it's my I'm Googleable, so it's my email and etc. on all over the PRs.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the Googleable Emily.
Yeah, is LinkedIn.
And of course, MicroProfile IO, right? This is the
MicroProfile IO. So it's if you post a message there, I monitor the mailing list, etc.
Okay.
Daily. Yeah.
And thank you a lot, and I will re-invite you back in a few months and check, what's about MicroProfile 5.0.
5.0, yeah, is pretty exciting. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.